Have you ever fantasized about pulling off the perfect heist? Not a violent robbery, not something out of a gritty crime thriller, but something elegant. Smooth. Like walking into a vault, picking up the cash, and strolling out the front door without anyone batting an eye. No guns, no masks, just confidence. In the summer of 1969, one young man did exactly that. Theodore John Conrad was only 20 years old when he became one of the most successful and elusive fugitives in American history. Without any accomplices, without any high-tech plan, and without even a disguise, he walked away from his job at a Cleveland bank with $215,000 in cash. That's the equivalent of over $1.7 million today. Then, he vanished. No dramatic chase, no security alarms, no footage. Just gone. And for over 50 years, the FBI, U.S. Marshals, and even international investigators couldn't find him. He lived a second life under a different name, built a career, had a family, and took his secret to the grave. This is the true story of how Theodore Conrad pulled off one of the boldest bank thefts in American history, stayed hidden for more than half a century, and was only unmasked after his death. Born in October 1949, Theodore grew up in Lakewood, a quiet suburb of Cleveland, Ohio. From a young age, he was the type of kid teachers remembered. Polite, smart, well-dressed, always with a book in his hand. He was an honor student, he ran for class office, and he dreamed of becoming someone important. But he also had a fascination, some might say an obsession, with something else: crime. Specifically, the kind of crime you see in movies. Smooth, sophisticated, bloodless. In 1968, Conrad watched a new film called The Thomas Crown Affair. It starred Steve McQueen as a wealthy businessman who robs a bank for the thrill of it and then slips away behind a pair of sunglasses. There were no messy shootouts, no fingerprints, just charm and planning. Ted loved it. He watched the film over and over. Friends and classmates said he became obsessed with the idea. He even bragged that robbing a bank wasn't hard. You just had to be smart enough not to get caught. Most people laughed it off. After all, this was Ted. The quiet, clever kid. He was all talk, right? Wrong. After graduating from high school, he landed a job as a vault teller at the Society National Bank in downtown Cleveland. He handled deposits, balanced ledgers, and had access to the vault itself. It was mundane work, but it gave him everything he needed to execute his fantasy. And so, on July 11, 1969, just 1 year after watching the Thomas Crown Affair, Theodore Conrad made his move. It was a typical Friday. He came in like any other day, wore his suit and tie, smiled at coworkers. As the workday wound down, he was left alone to reconcile the cash. That's when he quietly placed $215,000, almost all in small bills, into a brown paper bag. Then, with complete calm, he walked out of the bank. No one stopped him, no one even noticed. The vault wasn't supposed to be fully checked until Monday morning. That gave Ted nearly 2 full days to disappear. By the time anyone realized the money was gone, Conrad was long out of Cleveland and out of reach. The heist made headlines across the country. A young man, barely out of his teens, had outwitted an entire bank and walked away with a fortune. No violence, no accomplices, no trace. The FBI launched a nationwide manhunt, airports were scoured. Train stations were watched. Leads were chased down in Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, Honolulu, and even international locations. But nothing stuck. Over the years, the case grew colder. A few possible sightings came and went, but none were confirmed. Investigators began to believe Conrad had changed his identity, maybe he got plastic surgery, maybe he fled the country. But in reality, Theodore Conrad had simply become someone else. And he didn't go far. He changed his name to Thomas Randall, settled in Lynnfield, Massachusetts, and began living an ordinary life. He worked at a luxury car dealership, built a reputation as a trustworthy salesman, and even filed for bankruptcy at one point, just like any normal American. He got married, he had a daughter, he paid taxes. For over 50 years, he lived completely under the radar. What's truly astonishing is how normal his life was. There was no evidence of flashy spending, no yachts, no offshore accounts. He blended in so well that even his wife and daughter had no idea who he really was. He watched the world change, Nixon resigning, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the rise of the internet. And all that time, he kept his secret buried, he never told a soul. Until May 2021, when Theodore Conrad, living as Thomas Randall, died of lung cancer. After his death, his family began going through his belongings. That's when they found strange documents. An old social security card with mismatched numbers. A birth certificate that looked off. At first, it didn't make sense. Why would a man like Tom have forged documents? They contacted authorities. Soon, the U.S. Marshals reopened the file. They compared fingerprints from Conrad's original employment records to prints from a decades-old arrest Randall had for a minor traffic violation. It was a match. After more than 5 decades, the mystery of Theodore Conrad was finally solved. Not with handcuffs, but with a death certificate. The truth sent shockwaves through his community. People who had known Tom for decades were stunned. His wife had lived with him for over 40 years and had never once suspected a thing. His daughter had no idea that her father was the subject of one of America's longest-running fugitive investigations. Law enforcement officials were left with mixed emotions. On one hand, the case was finally closed. On the other, Conrad had beaten the system. He'd done the unthinkable, pulled off a major theft, started over, and never got caught. Some believed he should have faced justice. Others admired the sheer genius of it all. There's no evidence that Conrad used most of the stolen money. It may have helped him get started. But by all accounts, he lived modestly, he worked hard, paid his bills, he seemed reformed. Or perhaps, he was just playing a long game. One investigator said, he didn't run away from the law. He ran toward a new life. It raises a deeper question: was Theodore Conrad a criminal or a master escape artist who got away with it? He never got rich off the crime, he didn't harm anyone. He lived a quiet life for more than half a century. But he also lied to everyone he loved. He lived in fear of being found. Every knock at the door, every odd phone call, could have been the end. So was it worth it? That's for you to decide. What we do know is this: Theodore Conrad walked into work one Friday with a plan and walked out with a fortune. He became a ghost in the system, an urban legend, until his death revealed the truth. His story isn't just about money. It's about identity. About reinvention. About how far someone might go to escape the life they were born into. In the end, he died peacefully, with his family by his side. Not in a jail cell, not in a courtroom, but in a quiet home in Massachusetts, still keeping the secret that defined his life. And for over 52 years, no one ever came close to catching him. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, be sure to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more true crime stories that uncover the unbelievable. And remember, sometimes the greatest secrets are hiding in plain sight.